There are certain things in movies that can really take a person out of the story being told. It could be a car scene where the driver and the passenger have a conversation for several minutes, and the driver spends the majority of the time looking over at his friend instead of keeping his eyes on the road. It could be a hacking film where the evil terrorists have a laptop that they can easily access anything at all times using some super slick interface instead of your standard terminal they normally would use. Gun enthusiasts out there will always be the first to point out when a muzzle flash doesn't go off or when there's no recoil on a specific type of gun. Well, for me, the muzzle flash went off last night in a film called Black Phone 2, a movie overall I'm positive on. I think it's a solid sequel to the original. It does some new things, it goes new places, it essentially just rips off Nightmare on Elm Street. Regardless, I had a good time with it, but I want to tell you what really drove me up the wall about this film. Let's begin. Say, before I get into a Karen bitch fest for a few minutes, if you wouldn't mind subbing to the show Adam Does Movies on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, I'd be a happy camper. All right, let's head to the complaint counter. Much like the original story, Black Phone 2 has the setting of Colorado, but this time we're heading into the Rocky Mountains to a campsite on Alpine Lake. The story takes place in the winter during a massive snowstorm. A storm so bad the roads are unable to be plowed, and the kids that are supposed to be going to their camp are no longer attending, leaving just a handful of folks stranded up there, including our two main protagonists. Now, I am going to do my best to refrain from spoilers, although there's a couple things I have to point out that could go into that territory. They really don't have much bearing, though, on the overall story. On a good day in the winter, you're going to get 40 degrees. On a bad day, you could be in the negatives. I'm from Minnesota, one of the coldest, god-awful places on this earth. It can run negative 30 degrees below wind chill. And Colorado's no slouch either, with a record holding negative 61 degrees Fahrenheit. Right out of the gates, we see this woman on a phone outside, and I have no breath coming out of her mouth. Nothing is showing up, which tells me maybe it's not so cold there, or perhaps they just didn't want to put in the CG breath. Because once the film fires up and we follow Finney and his sister Gwen to this cabin, it is beyond cold outside. I still don't see their breath. And there are multiple instances where these people are running around outside without even having boots on. The poor girl is in socks. How is she not freezing? How have her feet not turned purple? And why does the film not address this at all? If you are going to put a film in Colorado, in an isolated location that's incredibly cold, why wouldn't you make that part of the story? There are months out of the year where if you go outside for more than 15 minutes without the proper gear on, you're dead. Your ass freezes to death. But in this movie, not only do we not see the breath, the air coming out of these folks, but several of them fall through ice into the frigid ass water, and they get out like it's no big thing. These guys take a polar bear plunge into 30-degree temp water while outside in probably about the same temperature. Are you out of your mind? Not to mention, in both instances, it happens at night, so everything is colder. It's probably negative outside, and these guys get out of the water. I don't even think one of them puts a blanket on. He's just like, well, another day at the races. There's a scene where the lead camp counselor, Armando, is out by himself. He goes into the water for quite a long time, and then I thought the film was going to address this. It was going to be a whole thing where he's like laid out, he's like frostbitten, he's got hypothermia, it's going to be a whole deal. Maybe he was going to have to lose a leg or something. No, nothing. We see him the next day, he's fine, he's spry, he's ready to get back out there. It makes no sense. I enjoyed the film, but these things really ate at me. Like, why would you have this setting and then not play with it at all? Even though Black Phone 2 does have a very good tone to it, I do like that they add a little bit of this retro grain on top at times. It could have been so much better had they really put these actors in this element, in this scene. Granted, I know it would have been miserable to shoot. It would have added so much more to the final product, because not only do you have to battle off the Grabber, this supernatural entity coming back from hell to try to kill off the characters from the first film, they would also have to confront the fact that they've been brought to a situation that's almost unwinnable because they're in such harsh climates, because there's this blizzard, because there's no one around to help them, it adds to the tension, it adds to the stakes. A somewhat recent example where this worked out was 2022's Fall, a film about a couple girls that climb to the top of a radio tower and they find themselves stuck, unable to get down. In real life, they were obviously not thousands of feet up from the ground, but they did build a small portion of this tower and they did put the gals up there, which does allow them to act in the scene more and see that, hey, they are still high enough up for something bad to really take place. And that said, I don't even remember a single moment in Black Phone 2 where anyone acts cold. Like, it was so, maybe I'm losing my mind and it was addressed at some point. We're like, ooh, it's chilly out, but I just don't even think that was a thing. Everybody's just pretty content. But let me know if you have your own personal one that annoys the shit out of you in films. My wife has one where she'll look in houses and there will always be like a really big gap at the front door. I'm talking multiple inches where bugs and critters could easily crawl through. I don't actually know why they do that in a lot of movies, but it's a thing. Maybe it's to run cables underneath or something. Who knows? I'm sure I could find it on Google if I really cared to look, which I don't. But let me know in the comments if you have your own pet peeve in films that you wish they would address better. If you're new here, please think of subbing to the show Adam Does Movies on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I would appreciate it. I post a lot of movie commentary, reviews. I do a weekly live stream, all films all the time. Would love to have you stick around. All right, take care. Oh, wow, you're still here. Well, since I have you, maybe think about jumping by the old merch store, Adam Does Movies, and pick up one of these Adam Does Movies Halloween tees. It's got Jason on the cover there on the logo, a little Friday the 13th inspiration in time for the holidays. On top of that, maybe think about becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/AdamDoesMovies to really help support this one-man band. And that way I can afford to actually put out some candy this year for the trick-or-treaters and not just an empty pumpkin with a sign that says "Take one only." Implying that some fat little crap took all of them and left right away. Okay, that's all I got. Take care.